This cert is essential to starting your IT career. This training was originally for my students only, the students in the Zero to IT Hero program, but I decided to open it up to you guys, so here you go. So at certain points, I'm gonna be talking directly to my students and my students only. So this is kind of like the pre-test to the pretest. Yeah, that's right, it's the pre-test to the pretest. So you guys have studied, you went through all the training, and you're ready, right? Right. So here's a few things that's going to help you moving forward to have continued success in the program. First things first is, I'm really proud of you guys. I mean, there just seems to be just a different type of drive and motivation that you guys have that most students don't really. But in all seriousness, I'm super proud of you guys. Keep on doing what you got to do. This isn't an easy journey. It hasn't been an easy journey, and it's not going to be easy moving forward. If it was easy, a bunch of people would do it, and you could be anywhere doing anything, but you're right here training, trying to level up, trying to get certified, and I'm really proud of you. Another thing is, I want you guys to be confident with your answers. Things are jumping out at you for a reason. Oh, just like that damn thing just jumped out at me. It's a reason that things are just seem like they glowing, seem like they are just staring at you dead in your face. A lot of times that's because your subconscious, your memory is like, oh, I remember we already saw that, so that must be the answer. So I would always advise to go with your first mind and be confident with your answers. Now, last but not least, no matter what happens, just think about how far you've come. When you first started this program, you didn't know anything. You were literally a zero. You had zero knowledge. Now you're on your way to becoming an IT hero. You're transitioning from what you're currently doing, going to something brand new. You already got 2 wins underneath your belt with the exams you're already taking. So we're gonna go ahead and add this to the list. You've come so far. Pat yourself on the back, be proud of yourself. Here comes another win. And I know you guys are super smart, so you know exactly what's on the exam and know exactly how it's set up. For example, you know that the A+ is a 1-part test with only 50 questions, right? Wrong. Wrong as hell. The A+ is a 2-part exam, you damn dummy. And on both of these parts, right, you're gonna have 90 minutes and a maximum of 90 questions on each exam. The exam is broken down into 2 cores. Core 1 is gonna cover the following. So it's gonna cover things like mobile devices, networking, hardware, virtualization and cloud computing, hardware and network troubleshooting. Pop quiz. Out of those domains, out of those areas, which one of those did you focus on most? Troubleshooting, right? Troubleshooting has the biggest emphasis on this exam. So if you don't know how to troubleshoot, if you don't feel comfortable troubleshooting, most likely you will fail this exam. So make sure that you focus on troubleshooting, and troubleshooting. Make sure that you stick around to the end of this video where we're gonna go over an actual practice exam together. Before we get into that, I want to give a quick shout out to Liechtenstein. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. It is a state in between Austria and Switzerland. In the last month, we've gotten so many super thanks from that state and the people in that state. It's just kind of crazy getting so much love from a place that honestly I never heard of and I've never been to, but the love is much appreciated. Now, if you want to support this channel, you can give a super thanks at any time, and that allows me to make videos just like this, right? Because without the support, without that type of stuff, I will not be able to make videos like this, and videos like this are gonna be strictly for my students and the students in the Zero to IT Hero program. But anyway, that is so appreciated. I really appreciate it. And if you want to support the channel, super thanks is where it's at. Now, the exam has a multitude of different question types. You got multiple choice, you got drag and drop, you got fill in the blank, and you also have PBQs. So I want you to pay specific attention to performance-based questions. These are unlike any other questions on the exam. And quick little cheat code, quick little life hack, quick little tip of advice. The performance-based questions are most likely going to be the first questions that you see, and they're going to be worth more than any other single question on the exam. Long story short, make sure that you pay a close attention to these performance-based questions. They're going to make you do several different tasks. So it's not just going to be a question, you figure out the answer. There's going to be an actual problem, and you have to actually fix a problem. Now, what you have to actually do, you won't actually know that until you get into the exam room. But if you're a student in the Zero to IT Hero program, you're pretty much going to be well versed in whatever the hell they throw at you, right? So just know that that's going to be your first set of questions. First things that you see is going to be those performance-based questions. Now, a lot of times if you get in there and you're nervous, you forget some stuff don't go right, the PBQs, you can skip them and go back to them, right? So if you literally open it up and you have no idea what they want you to do, you don't know what to turn off, you don't know what to turn on, you don't know what to do, skip those questions, go ahead and go through the rest of the exam, and then come back to the PBQs. I think that's the best way to handle that. Okay, gang, now we're gonna get into that exam that I promised. Now, remember, if you've been studying, if you've been doing what you're supposed to do, you should be able to answer any question on these practice exams and in the real exam in 20 seconds. Okay, 20 seconds. Doesn't seem like a lot of time, but if you've been doing what you need to do, it's more than enough time. You should be able to read the question, understand the question, and find the correct answer in 20 seconds, right? I just think that's a great way, a great little repetition thing to do to make sure that you're ready when you get inside of the testing center or if you're testing at home, because when you get to the actual exam, you're going to be nervous, you're going to have anxiety. So if you're used to just crushing stuff in 20 seconds, if you have 30 seconds, a minute, it seems like more than enough time, right? And I found that students in the Zero to IT Hero program, once they get that down, the 20-second rule, boom, 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 20 seconds, 20 seconds, 20 seconds, 20 seconds, 20 seconds. When they get to the PBQs, it's so much easier. Instead of spending 15, 20 minutes on one PBQ, they are so trained to know that, okay, I got to be a sniper. I got to figure out what the hell this is asking me and what the answer is, right? So I would do the same thing for who's ever watching this. You need to be able to read the question, figure out what the hell it's asking you, and get the answer as quickly as possible. So let's get straight into these questions and answers. So single sign-on and mutual authentication. Simply put, it means that you sign on once, you're authenticated once, and you have access to multiple platforms. So many different places have this, where you sign into Facebook and you also have access to Instagram and anything else that Facebook owns. You sign into Google and you also have access to YouTube. You sign into XYZ and you got access to ABC, right? So single sign-on mutual authentication means that you only have to authenticate one time, put in your username and password or whatever tokens that you're using to gain that access and to have authentication happen in your organization or with you. And then you can have access to multiple different platforms without having to sign on again. Okay, gang, quick little cheat code. If you're working at the help desk, if you're the boss of all bosses, if you're in middle management, wherever you are, most times when you look up an IP address and the IP address starts with 169, that means that that device was never given an IP address by the DHCP server. It can be as simple as just plugging in that device. It could be as simple as just seeing if the DHCP server has ran out of IP addresses. But for some reason, you already know that the problem is something to do with IP addressing, and for some reason that device didn't get an IP address that actually would allow it to work on that network and get on the internet. 169 is a dead giveaway that you didn't get a IP address assigned to that device. So this one has a really special name, rogue access point, but it literally just means that somebody brings a unauthorized device from their home, from another office, from another place, and plugs it into your network. Okay, that's all it is. Sometimes it's malicious, sometimes it's just accidental, or sometimes it's just people don't know, right? Okay, I want to use my super duper router from the house, so I'm just taking my router from the house and plug it into the network. Now, you should have, if you're smart, you should have port security inside your network, right? So as soon as somebody plugs in a device that's not on the MAC address list, or it's not supposed to be on that network, a flag should pop up, and the server administrator or the security team should be alerted like, hey, there's an unauthorized device on the network. But long story short, rogue access point mean that it is a device that should not be on the network and somehow it made it onto the network. So when you don't have enough physical RAM, you can technically use virtual memory in place of that RAM. Now, a lot of times that virtual memory is nowhere near as fast, doesn't work as good, but it is something that is a temporary fix when you don't have enough physical memory in your device. Now, to the students that are in the Zero to IT Hero program, after this, literally directly after you pass the pretest that's right after this, go directly into the final. You watch this, pass the pretest, then you go to the final. Then after that, you got to do the critical thinking exercise and a few other tasks, which you already know, and then you can go ahead and actually take the exam, right? Remember, we're about executing, not about excuses. So make sure that you go through the training, finish this, finish the pretest, finish the final, do the other tasks that you've been assigned, so we can actually go inside the exam room and get certified. Ergonomic is a big word. It just means making stuff comfortable and doesn't make the human body work in a way that it's not intended to, right? So if you've been working in IT for a while, you probably had carpal tunnel before from typing in awkward positions, or having a mouse that wasn't ergonomic, or back pain because you wasn't in a seat that was ergonomic, right? So ergonomic is a big word that just means that making stuff comfortable for you, where you won't have wrist pain, won't have knee pain, won't have back pain, because it's specifically designed for the human body. So no matter where you are, no matter what you got going on, wherever you take a picture, wherever you send a text, wherever you upload a TikTok, it has a geo tag that can be tracked. And people can figure out, oh, he was in Chicago, or she was in Alaska, or he was at McDonald's, or what, so on and so forth, right? Every piece of content, every picture, every video, everything that you take has a geographical tag, something that tags the longitude, the latitudes, the actual coordinates of when this picture was taken, this is exactly where this person was at. Believe it or not, there's been a bunch of unsolved mysteries and crimes and all this kind of stuff that will solve due through geo-tagging. They will look at a picture and they will find out exactly where that picture was taken from the geographical tag. So a DMZ, or a demilitarized zone, is another big word that basically means that you put the server in a place that doesn't have access to your real network or your main network, right? So you put the server in a DMZ, you got access to it, the other people got access to it. If they do something weird, it'll only break that DMZ, and it shouldn't be able to infiltrate or affect or compromise your main site or your main network. All right, so DMZ, demilitarized zone, is just a safe spot for both of you guys to rock out where you can't affect them and they can't affect you. But if you're the one that set up the DMZ, most likely you don't necessarily trust them, or you're just taking extra precautions to make sure that they don't do anything weird. So a proxy server, super simple, is instead of you connecting directly to a website, to a server, so on and so forth, you would go through a proxy server. So a proxy server would actually connect to the device, to whatever it is, instead of you. So your IP address wouldn't show up, the proxy server's IP address would show up. Does that make sense? So it's like a middleman. Okay, I'm gonna go to you and say, hey man, I'm gonna go on ESPN.com. And then the actual proxy server goes to ESPN.com as opposed to you, but you will still have access, right? Now, using a proxy server or even using a VPN, that delay or that extra connection sometimes will cause latency, right? So latency just means that there's a delay. You know, it's not as fast as it should have been because it has to go through an extra step, an extra router, an extra server, so on and so forth, okay? So when you're in IT, when you're putting new devices on the network, you got a couple different options, right? The two main options is using DHCP, which is going to do things automatically. You input the pool of IP addresses. As soon as a new device gets on that network, that DHCP server is going to make sure that that device has an IP address. The other way is static, right? So static is a fancy word for manually inputting the IP addresses in each device. Now, the only drawback to, well, it's two drawbacks to the static thing is it takes time, and since you're a human, you may put in the same IP address twice. And the problem with that is that two devices cannot have the same IP address on the same network. For example, two houses cannot have the same address in the same neighborhood on the same street because nobody will know where the hell to deliver the packages at. Make sense? Ideally and technically, a secure boot stops unauthorized and any malicious software from starting up during startup. So when you turn the computer on and Windows or iOS or whatever you're using is trying to boot up, it'll stop any unauthorized, any weird stuff from starting at that time. Now, technically and ideally, that is what's going to happen. That is what secure boot is for. Now, remember, nothing is for sure. Nothing is fail safe. Some things may still start up. Some things may still be working in the background. So you want to make sure that when you have a breach, when you have an incident, when you have something that is compromised, make sure that before that device, that user gets back on that network, the user fully understands what happened and how to prevent it and how to make it not happen the next time. And also that device doesn't have anything laying dormant, doesn't have anything in the background, doesn't have anything going on that will reinfect the network or infect other devices. Now that we got through the practice exam, here's 3 things that you need to do on test day. Before we get into that, this is what I want you to do. I want you to pause the video. If you got any of these questions wrong, I want you to pause the video. I know. pause the damn video and go do research on whatever you got wrong, right? You already know I don't like you to move forward until you already understand what the hell we already talked about, right? So just make sure that you fully understand what we talked about, and anything you don't understand, go research it, go read it, go back through the training, okay? Same thing, when you get to the practice quizzes and the exams and stuff, if you don't understand anything, write it down and go back through the training until you feel 100% comfortable, right? So by the time you get into the exam, like I said, 20 seconds should be all you need. 20 seconds. So for the tips on test day, number one, you're gonna be nervous. You're gonna have bubble guts. You're gonna have butterflies. It is normal. For some reason, since we were children, you were supposed to be as scared of an exam as you were as if Debo pulled up, right? It is just embedded in us that exams are scary, that tests are scary, but they're not. This is what you got in this program for. This is what you're studying for. This is what you need to do. It's game time. All that hard work, all them hours you put in, this is what it's for. If in the exam you start feeling overwhelmed, start sweating, just take a couple seconds break, control your breathing, control your heart rate, and then get right back into it. Just get right back into it. This is the whole purpose of this program, is to get you certified. So go ahead and go get certified. Second tip, don't do any cram sessions right before the exam. If you show up to the exam, if you go into a testing center, if you're taking the exam at the house and you still flipping through pages trying to do a cram session, if you are still studying and forgetting shit 5 minutes before the exam, you're not ready. You are not ready. Okay. Now, I would say just briefly review stuff, but if you really still trying to learn shit when the exam is in 10, 15, an hour away, that's not a good idea. Just skim through the stuff that you want to just, okay, let me just make sure, and just skim through, you know, your practice questions or whatever you, the flashcards or whatever you're looking at, and just be confident and try to relax your mind, right? Because when you go inside the damn exam room, your brain is going to get its ass whooped, right? It's going to be so much. So you want to make sure that you're going in there with a mind that's at ease, you know, not still thinking about this and that, right? Like I said, after going through all this training, if you still thinking about stuff, studying, trying to figure out the OSI model and shit, how to spell computer, right before the exam starts, you're not ready. I don't like for anybody to reschedule the exams. If you're in the Zero to IT Hero program, do not reschedule your exam. But if you're using some other training material, you may need to reschedule. But to my guys and girls in the program, you are ready. You're going to feel nervous. You're going to feel like, I don't know. But you're never going to feel 100% ready, but you are, right? Like I said, if you go through the next few steps in the program, you're about 95% ready right now. But after that, that's going to take you that extra 5% and you're going to be ready. Now, last but not least, make sure that you show up at least 30 minutes early, right? So no matter if you're taking it at the testing center or if you are taking it at home. If you're taking it at the testing center, that extra time will allow you to actually find the spot, find the place inside the building where the actual exam is taken, get registered, be able to sit down, breathe a little bit, and get ready for the exam. Now, if you're taking it at the house, same thing. It'll give you time to clean up your area, tell your wife, your kids, whoever, your roommate, hey man, I'm gonna need you to be quiet for the next hour and a half. I really got something going on. Your neighbors, if you live in an apartment, upstairs, downstairs, left and to your right, hey, can you please just give me an hour and a half? I'm taking this exam and I don't need any distractions. I don't need any loud noises, so on and so forth. And also, just make sure that if something does happen, if something does go left, people start yelling, people starting crazy, just have tunnel vision, right? Just have tunnel vision. No matter what's going on, you should be ready to take this exam. Now, my last tidbit of information is go take the damn test. I'll see you in class.